getting up there to about 4,000 feet for our shooters to jump in just a little while for their second jump here at the Warbirds Over Monroe. Fantastic. On the departure, the Cirrus. Incredible SR-22. I think Alan Mitchell owns one of these.
Yeah, that Alan Mitchell must be living in a different tax bracket than this one.
Oh, is that what it is?
An incredible aircraft that I would love to own if I could. It has, unlike most general aviation aircraft, this aircraft actually has a heat and air system in it. So if you've ever been sitting out on the runway right before you're taking off on a nice hot Oklahoma summer day, which I do a lot,
sure,
you sweat profusely. And my airplane, which is actually a Cessna 337, smells like a gymnasium.
or a locker room, right?
Yeah, it smells like an old gym locker room because of all the generations of aviators that have sat in there sweating.
Right.
This aircraft, you don't have that problem.
Wow, that is amazing. Now this airplane has a parachute. A lot of people don't realize that it's a parachute system that really is a backup. So if you lose that engine and you're not over feel that you can very safely do the dead stick landing, the airplane can actually deploy a parachute, which is very, very rare in general aviation, but it is something that's coming along. Very interesting. If you ever see one of those deploy, they're amazing. Plus, it's an all-glass cockpit. It's a side stick. It's an amazing airplane to fly.
It really is. I have had the opportunity to fly one of these, Bill, and it's an incredible machine. I wish, like I said, if somebody out there wants to donate one.
Same here, exactly.
December 7th, 1941. Imagine that you were there that fateful morning. It started off as a peaceful Sunday morning just like this, over 80 years ago in Pearl Harbor and Hickam Field on the Hawaiian island of Oahu. Our entire naval base has awakened, with most of the fleet peacefully confines of the harbor. Experience the roar of the engine and the sounds of the bombs as the Imperial Japanese Navy sent the first wave of 189 fighters and bombers from Japan's first air fleet, led by Japanese Captain Fushida. The surprise of the unprovoked attack was so complete that the coded success signal, Tora, 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 was sent back to the carrier task force before the first bombs fell. A single remote radar station had spotted the incoming raiders, but mistook them for a flight of B-17s due in from the mainland. The B-17s arrived, and like America herself, find themselves in a war that had not yet been declared. The attack was from the Japanese aircraft carriers Akagi, Akaga, Hiru, Zoru, and the two new carriers, the Shokuku and the Suikuku. The plan was simple: destroy the Pacific Fleet. The raid lasted for a little over 2 gruesome hours. When the first bombs began to fall, pilots all over the island jumped into action. At Wheeler Field, Lieutenant Philip Rasmussen woke to the sound of bombs, jumped jumping out of bed, strapping on a .45 caliber pistol over his purple pajamas, and ran to a working Curtiss P-36 Hawk. Just like the one you saw take off to join the flight to defend our country. Right here, right in front there, the zeros on his tail. He was joined by 4 more P-36 pilots, Lewis Sanders, Harry Brown, Gordon Sterling, and Malcolm Mike Moore. They took off to engage the attacking Japanese and managed to shoot down a few of the Japanese Zeros, Vals, and Kates. The number of enemy aircraft were incredibly overwhelming. Meanwhile, elsewhere on the island, Kenneth Taylor and George Welsh were just returning from an all-night dinner, dance, and poker party. These brave pilots, still in their formal dress clothes, raced to a couple of P-40 Warhawks, got them fielded and armed, and took off. They quickly found themselves in the middle of a real battle. These two pilots caught up with the Japanese close to Pearl Harbor and Hickam Field and engaged the Zeros, Vals, and Kates with rounds from their .30 caliber machine guns. However, they quickly ran out of ammunition. Luckily, though, they were able to land at Wheeler Field, which is near the center of the island. They refueled and reloaded with .30 and .50 caliber ammo and took off once again to fight the Japanese. The two pilots are credited with downing a total of 6 Japanese warplanes before their own planes were disabled. Both pilots received a Distinguished Service Cross for their actions that infamous day. A total of 502 U.S. airplanes lay on the ground at the beginning, around the ground at the beginning of the attack. Sadly, 188 were totally destroyed, 159 damaged, and 159 of our aircraft lay on the ground in various stages of disrepair. The first wave of 189 Japanese Zeros, Vals, and Kates hammered Hawaii for almost an hour. Then came the second wave of an additional 171 aircraft to continue the strafing, bombing, and dropping of torpedoes for yet another 70 minutes. That's a total of 360 enemy warplanes. As the attack proceeded at Pearl Harbor and Hickam Field, the devastation was just horrifying. On the eastern edge of Ford Island, in the center of the harbor, 9 battleships lay at berth. The California, Oklahoma, West Virginia, Tennessee, Maryland, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Utah, and the Arizona. Luckily at the time, our 3 Pacific aircraft carriers were out at sea. First, the Japanese hit with Kate torpedo bombers. The initial wave of Kates hit 5 of our battleships, the Oklahoma, California, Nevada, West Virginia, and the Utah. These Kates were specially equipped with shallow-running torpedoes specifically designed for the attack on Pearl Harbor. You see, the shallow waters here at Pearl Harbor would not allow the use of normal deep-running torpedoes, which leaves no question that this was a well-thought-out plan and not a surprise attack. Then came the Val dive bombers, armed with 1,700 pounds of armor-busting projectiles, originally made for 16-inch battleship guns, but converted to aerial bombs. These planes dived down onto the Nevada and the Arizona. Anti-aircraft fire veered the Vals away from the Nevada on the first wave, but unfortunately, the Arizona was not that lucky. A bomb stabbed the Arizona through her forward magazines and exploded, torching off more than 1 million pounds of gunpowder. Sailors on the Nevada watched in horror as the Arizona jumped 20 feet in the air and broke in two, forever entrapping 1,178 American servicemen in an underwater tomb. The ship sank in less than 3 minutes. And still today, she remains at the bottom of the harbor in a watery grave, crying black tears as a reminder to all of those who lost their lives that infamous day. Kate torpedo bomber right there front and center, dropping torpedoes. Zero, the gray airplane right here in front of you, attacking, dropping bombs. And here comes our American P-36 Warhawk, flying through, chasing, getting into the fight. And Marine Dayton Air Force Station, Iowa, Private First Class Melvin Thompson was on guard duty when 9-0s attacked the base. He stepped out of his guard shack, drew his .45 caliber pistol, and began firing on the enemy airplanes. A Japanese pilot, Yoshio Shiga, saw Thompson firing back at them, and years later, Shiga remembered Thompson's tenacity and fighting spirit, describing the Marine as the bravest American I've ever seen. All over the island, soldiers were bringing their weapons to bear in the fight. Anything they could get working, their .45 caliber pistols or Springfield rifles, and in some cases, our soldiers were able to get 30 and 50 caliber belt-fed machine guns into action, bringing down numerous marauding Japanese Zeros, Vals, and Kates. Unfortunately, Japanese Zeros appeared at the same time and started strafing runs. One P-40 pilot was killed as he stepped into his cockpit. 2 other P-40s were shot down just as they got off the ground. The flight of 12 B-17s coming from the mainland finally arrived and immediately attacked by the Zeros. Unfortunately, in all of the confusion, the B-17s were shot at by friend and foe. Crews landed wherever they could, one of them in a pineapple field not far from Hicken Field. A B-17 pilot, Major Landing, trying to land, said what a hell of a way to end a war. Out of gas, unarmed, and no place to land. Amazingly though, 8 of the B-17s actually made it to Hicken Field. P-36 Hawk, chasing down a Zero. At the conclusion of the surprise Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, more than half of America's entire naval fleet had been destroyed or damaged. Nearly 20 Japan, but Nazi Germany as well, giving peace and freedom to the entire world. We do this in appreciation of that dedication, determination, and effort, and extend our appreciation to the men and women here at Monroe fighting for our freedom today. We salute them all, past and present. Tora, Tora, Tora. Special surprise for you here. Special salute to our veterans. The Wall of Fire, presented by our Tora Bomb Squad. What'd you think, huh? Pretty cool. Or I should say pretty warm. That felt good.